Alright, looks like I'm making a video. Yeah, so welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here in Mendham and such. So you have to comment on what's been going on, which is just too bizarre, and you're never thought that would happen while I was alive anyway. The whole whatever insurrection thing, and it's so comical. And it's the hypocrisy everywhere. It's just so amazing. It's just like, I just so. But it is dissectable. I mean, there's certain things you can understand about what's happening. Almost. But it's just too stupid. Yeah. So most people, unfortunately, are too stupid. It seems to be getting that way anyway. It used to be just like the fringes of the Republican Party, the really fanatically religious kooks, Jerry Falwell types, the, I'm rich and I want to stay rich. I inherited it, so please don't tax me or, make my life even better, people. And, I earned it by inheriting it, philosophy. Capitalism is just so perfect. It's just working so great. You just can't find a single flaw in it. Let's have just more and more of it. This just works so good. And what are the other nuts? There's some other nut in there. Oh yeah, the racist. Yeah, the crazy racist loonies who want to kill all the blacks and the Jews and all that kind of crap, or get them all out of the country or whatever, and make things just more comfortable. And then, the Democrats had a few commies, but most of those didn't even bother voting, because they were sort of disenfranchised. Out of luck. But yes, now they've become a big fringe in the liberal side. You have these whatever new Democrats that, think money grows on trees, and we can write welfare checks for the entire world. Yeah, just come to the United States. We'll write you a check, That cheap labor is fun. somehow they actually believe that. Because they don't realize that you have to pay for all of that. I mean, cheap labor isn't really cheap, because you're not paying enough people enough to do what they do, which is have kids and other kinds of crap, and they're not nearly making enough money to do any of that crap, so it really doesn't work. Yes, they'll pay some of their rent, to the rich. And they think they can just keep spending money, like if they keep borrowing money from rich people, that somehow they're going to get rich that way. That the poor do a lot better when they get bigger and bigger into debt to the rich, and that's who you're borrowing from. When the government borrows money, it's not borrowing it from some magic bank somewhere. It's borrowing it from rich people. It's paying them the rent. They're renting the money, from the rich. So you're making the rich richer when you borrow money. Just letting you know. Which, I might as well just get to it, just show you the Federal Reserve stuff. So maybe I'll do the tough part first. The part that, the nasty facts and figures kind of stuff. So this is a chart of the Federal Reserve. And this is where they came up with a new scheme, back in 9/11 days, where they're decided to, instead of borrowing money in a legitimate way from the rich, they just asked the banks to write a bunch of fake checks, bad checks. Just write the bad checks, okay? We'll cover them eventually, but just write them. We'll put them in this Federal Reserve thing, you just drop the check in the Federal Reserve, and it's okay, we'll pretend we paid you, even though we didn't. And, and now it's up to almost $8 trillion. And it's just going to keep going up because everybody wants their free money, and everybody wants everything, and so it's just going to keep going up. And it's already so high now that it's really unfixable, because as soon as they try to even pay a little bit of off, the stock market starts to crash. So they can never pay this money back realistically, unless you're willing to accept a big giant dip in the stock market. A lot of wealth will have to be annihilated, because it's not real money anyway. See, people keep thinking the stock market is a real indicator of how real the assets are in America, like how many new buildings we built and how many new companies are running and how many new lawns are getting cut and all that kind of crap. It has nothing to do with that, absolutely nothing. So it's just a big fake, gambling institution and nothing else. It doesn't really have anything to do with any real wealth in the economy. We should have learned our lesson, because that's what 29 sort of taught the world, is that the stock market doesn't mean anything. It's not real. When you liquidate it, there's nothing there. It's not like you can, it's like it's all saying that something's worth, like this is worth $1 million. But, if I try to sell it, it's not worth $1 million, in the real world. And that's all stocks are, to a large extent. It's just fake. It's just a fake statement of I'm rich, and it doesn't really mean you're really rich. It just means that you're saying you're rich because you've created enough, debt purchases in your market. So what this is, this Federal Reserve gimmick they found, which is just totally obnoxious. All right, so let's just understand there's two major things they set up to prevent the stock market from crashing again: the Federal Reserve and FDIC insurance. And both of them are bankrupt. I mean, completely bankrupt now. So they don't even exist as anything real. So you have to kind of understand, like they have like $1 billion in insurance money, and they're covering $7 trillion in assets. So that's FDIC insurance. So as soon as like 10 people, go to the bank and say, I have FDIC insurance, give me my money, that's it. The bank is already out of money. So it's over. Okay, the insurance doesn't mean anything. You're going to get an IOU from the bank that says, come back in 60 days and maybe I'll have some money. Maybe. And maybe it'll be worth nothing. The money will be worth absolutely nothing. 10 cents on your dollar. So I'll give you your money, but you won't be able to buy a loaf of bread with it. And that's the factual truth. So it's bankrupt. FDIC insurance means if you think you're going to get your money, forget about it. Ain't happening. Okay, no chance. And the Federal Reserve is like this other thing to just make sure we can keep banks solvent, keep an eye on things. And now they've put all these blank, these checks in there. And so now, as soon as the banks are any pressures on the banks at all, the banks are going to say, I need you to cash that check. That check you have of mine for $2 trillion. Yeah, I need you to actually give me the money, okay, because I need it, okay. My account holders are asking for it, and so you have to give me the money, because you're basically saying, I'll hold all your reserves, I'll hold all your money in some vault somewhere in the federal government. And so they've converted all the real assets into just checks, IOUs. I'll pay you on Thursdays. And it's it's an insane amount of money. But the real trick is, I have to keep getting to the real trick, is that every time they do this fake buying on the market, they're buying things off the market. So you can understand this. If you're going to the banana store, and somebody else starts buying a whole bunch of bananas, that maybe the price of bananas will go way up, because somebody else is buying a lot of bananas too, right? So it's we're sort of cornering the market on things. We're buying stuff off the market, and by buying it off the market, it means you bought it. That means you paid somebody money for it, and now they have money to go spend somewhere else. So the idea is it makes the stocks go up, because when we buy our bonds off the market, we give somebody else trillions of dollars. It's $8 trillion. We gave rich people $8 trillion to buy what they owned, and now they have $8 trillion to spend on new stuff. Like they could buy some oil, or they could buy corn, or they could buy wheat, or they could buy stocks. And that's what they go out and do. They buy stocks. This is because the cash doesn't do anything good. What are they going to do with cash, right? Except to watch it deflate a little bit. So it's not going to do anything interesting, the cash. So they go out and they buy some crap that they hope is going to be worth more next week and next month and next year. And so that's exactly what took place. So our borrowing, instead of the regular borrowing, like normal borrowing means you're taking money out of the market, right? When we take a bond, the federal government says, oh shit, we didn't pay our bills, we got to borrow some money. what they're doing is they're saying, here, we're putting a new pile of bananas on the market, okay? So we're flooding the market with crap to buy. And we're basically saying, rich people, give me your money, which means, well, the rich people maybe don't got cash, so they have to sell their stocks to buy the bond, right? So the normal borrowing kills the market, in a sense, in the short run, because a bunch of rich people money has to be sold. They have to sell some assets to buy the new asset that the government created, the new bond. So it's like putting extra paintings in the auction rather than taking paintings out of the auction. You can sort of understand, if there's less stuff in the auction and the same number of buyers are sitting in the audience, they're likely to pay more for everything than if there's more stuff. The more stuff they try to sell, the less money there is to buy. You know, it's that kind of obvious. And so this trick is really great because you can be, you're desperate for money, right? So you're basically showing the economy is bankrupt, and so you're creating a mechanism where you can make the stock market go up by being bankrupt, you know. And so it's obviously, you can sort of understand that that's one of those kind of things that just can't possibly work, like some sort of perpetual motion or something, that you can't just keep doing that. You know, that's not going to keep working. And, you know, but now it's so ludicrous, you know, $8 trillion that we can't come up with, you know, the whole government takes in a couple of trillion a year. I mean, if you took all the money the government raises for 4 years, you still couldn't pay back the money. It's an, you know, so it's an insane amount of bubble in the markets. So we made a bunch of people say, I'm really, really, really rich now, you know, because they own all that stuff. Okay, you don't own it, they own it. And they have a claim on your government, basically, to say you owe me $8 trillion. So besides all the other bond crap, like I said, so besides the other $25 trillion in regular legitimate borrowing, you have this $8 trillion in completely illegitimate borrowing. You know, where we just embezzled the money. I mean, we just put a fake, you know, write a check that doesn't mean anything. Nobody has to pay it. It's silly. So as soon as they try to pay it, you can sort of understand that what they're doing when they're trying to pay it is they're putting assets back on the market again, diluting the assets that are already on the market, and so that's very bad for the stock market. They're going to be taking cash out of the market. So anyway, so who's gonna be brave enough to pay that down? Who's going to be the brave enough politician to say, yeah, I'm going to crash the stock market. Yeah, it's going to be worth 50% of what it is now in 4 years. Nobody's going to get elected doing that. So that ain't going to happen. And even though it really needs to happen, because frankly, this is unsustainable and insanely dangerous, and it's just not going to work. See, the problem is this is a direct claim on cash. You know, you can't make excuses. You have to pay the money. And if the government gives them the cash, that means they printed it. So this is all an obligation for the federal government to print cash, real money, real paper. And as soon as that real paper gets into the economy, it means they actually just did print cash. Now, I could show you that we only have $2 trillion in circulation, but I won't bother showing you that graph. But I mean, they've been printing cash, but it's only $2 trillion. So just understand, we have $8 trillion in obligation on bad checks that really does have to be paid as soon as the banks say, I'm bankrupt, give me the cash, okay? The customer's asking for cash. I can't give him your promise. I can't give him your bullshit. So you have to give me the cash. So you can imagine that, you know, $8 trillion is 4 times as much as the whole money in all of circulation in the world. And so that's not going to work out too well, because yeah, everything you're going to buy is going to be worth so much less, because obviously you've printed all this extra cash that's now in the economy, and it makes everybody's dollar worth less. You can sort of understand that having 8 times as much cash circulating means the cash doesn't mean as much, you know, and that's inflation and blah blah, hyperinflation. And then when that happens, right, everybody's getting poor, poor especially getting very poor. And so, so where does it end? And then, so that's sort of what I wanted to do in the video, but I don't know. There's so many scenarios, of how, once it starts to degrade, and everybody starts searching for an asset that won't crash, and they start buying, oil, and they start buying, farmland. And they start buying all these things because they're trying to find something that won't turn into absolute shit. And when they do that, that means the prices of all those things go way up. So farmland gets incredibly valuable. Then they're not going to sell you your food anymore for 25 cents, right? I mean, if they paid $1 million for a farm worth $50,000 just to try to save their assets, they're not going to sell you food, at a loss. So you're not going to get the food cheap anymore. You're not going to get your energy cheap anymore. You're not going to get anything cheap anymore, because all the prices of all the commodities, all the hard assets, are going to go way up, because the stocks will have no value. I mean, they'll be the worst place to have your money, because they're already admitting that the stocks are 14 times or 15 times overvalued. That is, the asset value of the stock is 15 times the hard assets that the company actually owns, or 20 times, or 50 times. I mean, if you try to see, it's like Google stock. If you sold Google, the buildings, the carpeting, if you sold all the pieces of Google, it wouldn't come even close. It wouldn't even be like 1% of the value of the stock. So you're not really buying the assets. You're buying some future potential to screw over people and steal money through advertising. Well, what if all of that falls apart? What if there's no advertising anymore because nobody has any money? So companies can't bother advertising because they can't sell anything, because nobody has any money to buy anything. Well, obviously there's lots of down potential. All your money can disappear. And like I said, the rich people aren't stupid. They're going to say, fuck these stocks. I'm going to go buy a real asset. And so, like I said, what are they going to buy? They're going to buy corn. They're going to buy wheat. They're going to buy oil. They're going to buy all the stuff that you need. And those things are going to go way up in price. At the same time, your dollar is going way down in value. So you might have a job you think is secure. I'm making 70 or 80 grand a year or whatever. Maybe you think you're important somehow. I don't know. It's hard to even imagine all those jobs even existing, right? So many of these people they have these nice salaries and they don't do shit. I mean, all that's going to go away. And then all you're going to have is a grass cutting job. Your $10 an hour job isn't going to mean anything when you can't buy a loaf of bread for $10. Just isn't going to mean anything. So anyway, it's going to be a mess. So anyway, that's a huge, big problem. So we really need somebody with a brain here, right? We need some smart people, honest people, that actually tell the truth about what this is. Politicians aren't even talking about this in any honest way at all. They think this is like something the banks did. Oh, this is just bankster bullshit. Banks invented this. That's their money, but they're just not lending it to people. They have all kinds of wacky theories, have nothing to do with the truth. All this money is directly the federal government just telling the banks, look, we have a scheme, okay? It's kind of desperate and stupid, but here's the scheme. Your checks don't really mean anything, right? I mean, you're just going to move money from one bank to another, right? If a bank writes a check, all it means is the other bank cashes the check, and then it goes into the Federal Reserve, and then the other bank switches the money, right? So they're just doing this little circular check thing. And all we've done is just say, look, it just doesn't matter. Go ahead, write the check and buy $2 trillion bond or whatever. Go buy it for us, okay? And we'll now own a piece of shit, our own bonds. We're buying our own bonds off the market. And so give the guy who owns it the money as a check. He'll go cash it in the other bank, and then it'll come back into the Federal Reserve, and we'll just let it sit there, okay? We're just not going to cash it. So we know we owe you the money. So this is basically the Federal Reserve saying we owe the banks $8 trillion. That's all it's saying. That's exactly what it is. These are just IOUs to the banks. We've just basically said, just pretend you have real money in your vault, but it's not real money. It's just your check, okay? And we're promising that we're gonna cash it for you someday, But that's what's in the vault. Like if it broke into the bank, there's no money in there. There's just this silly check. You know, you can't cash. It doesn't mean anything. So you know, you couldn't even rob a bank now because they don't have any real money. Okay, they just have this stupid Federal Reserve promise to someday I'll print the money, but I ain't gonna print it now. You can't have it now because if I put more cash into the economy, I ruin the value of cash, and you know, inflation, you know, balloons, and the whole thing falls apart. So I can't make real money. You know, I can't put real money in the vault because then you'll put it into the economy, and then it'll be terrible inflation. So anyway, this is just, it's so bad. All right, so back to the political part of it. So I mean, you watch this stuff, and I mean, it's just like I said, the hypocrisy is so obvious. You know, of how you know, these white people. And you know, I'm sad to say, you know, you said, you know, I have blonde hair, and I'm almost thinking I should dye my hair, because you're almost ashamed to be blonde-haired and blue-eyed, because you see them in the Trump audience, and you're just so depressed. It's like, what the hell? But anyway, I mean, just the idea that all for 4 years they've been saying, you know, when the looting starts, the shooting starts, and you know, all this crap about how law and order must be preserved, you know, and you don't do this monkey thing, you know, and here they just behave just as bad as you could, right? I mean, their plan is so despicably stupid, you know, and they end up just being looters, right? And you know, selfies and the whole, you know, I'll put my feet on desks and I'll steal podiums, and you know, I'll wear to some, you know, the costumes. Even the dumb looters don't wear costumes to the looting. I mean, it's you know, hilarious. Yeah, and you're just, it's just like there's such hypocrites. I mean, but obviously that's not the Republicans who are defending all this crap, right? So you know that that's just the fringes, and so the fringes of the two parties are out of their mind. Okay, they're idiots. I mean, profound idiots. But that fringe just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So I mean, the percentage of each party that's retarded, you know, just, you know, autistic, whatever. They're really fucking dumb, and that percentages are just keep growing. And so maybe it is 40% now. I mean, maybe it's more. But I mean, you can just see. I mean, you know, white trash, is that the proper word to use? Is there some word we can use for, you know, these are basically profoundly uneducated moron white people? Okay, and then you have the other argument about the, you know, the kids from the hood, you know, and you know, how they're just a bunch of maniacal, you know, evil, horrible monsters. I can't see the difference between the two set of monsters except the color of their skin. You know, so, and obviously the hypocrisy, you know, when one set is going to go do their hooliganism, you know, the you know, the army's there with their, you know, they got the full armor, you know, the whole suit that just magically, you know, they turn into a reptile and they're ready for battle, you know. But when the white hooligans show up, it's like, yeah, well, can I open the door for you? You know, can I make it, you know, is there any way I can make this easier for you? You know, your antics, for you to do your little looting thing. I mean, so bad. Just so retarded. I mean, you know, I don't even know how to. It's so embarrassing. So I mean, even if I had some kind of white pride, you know, thing, you're just like, oh man, you know, cultural war. You're not going to win the cultural war with these morons. I mean, you know, pathetic. And then you see the Republicans all defend it, just like they've defended Trump from the beginning. And you're just like, how can they defend such a creature? I mean, Trump himself is such a despicable, lying creature. And you're saying they've wrapped their, you know, they're using this monster as their poster child for, you know, tax cuts for the rich and glorification of the Bible. You know, it just, you can't. It's impossible to make sense out of it. And you're saying that even when you're watching it, you're seeing these people like even if I believed in storming the government, you know, because the commies are coming, you know, even if I had some motivation to do all this stuff, the fact that you're sitting there right next to some guy with a, you know, killed a Jew shirt on and another guy with a Confederate flag. I mean, how do these people even mix? I mean, how do they have an after party, like after a Trump speech? I mean, what do these people do when they mingle? I just, and so you got to say, no, there's got to be something that holds them together. What's the glue that's holding them together? It's got to just be racism, right? So that's it. This is just about we got enough foreigners in the country, and I agree. We can't write welfare checks for the world. It's just a practical fact. It can't be done. So this whole idea that you could just open the borders and let all these irresponsible jackasses who soiled their own countries just flood in and soil this one too, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense. It's not going to work. Whatever the plan is, that you're going to instantly educate them all and they're all going to do fantastic and wonderful things. No, they're not. They're going to have low-paying jobs. They're going to overspend. They're going to tax your system to pieces. You're going to be writing a lot of welfare checks, and that's it. So that's what you're going to get as your the wonderful, your diversity is going to get you shit. Because it doesn't work. So yeah, these are, there's one rational argument, but they turn the rational argument into just, it's just the brown immigrants. Oh, okay. Yeah. And that's what it really, it obviously looks like. Well, that's what it is like. I mean, there's no other way to interpret it. And yeah, it's not practical. I mean, that's all, you can just say, like, I've said it, I don't like diversity. I'd like to just hang out with people who like to talk about physics and, pet cats. And, I wish there was people that just had the same interests that I have, and we all had the same respect for the same thing. We like the street not to have garbage in it. We had the same instincts, the same impulses, the same blah, blah, blah. I gotta say, yeah, that sounds like a lot better than this. Yeah, diversity sucks, okay? But the fact is it exists. The fact is you have to accept that, yeah, these are the rules of the game. So you're going to have to accept that the world has all these different people in it with all these different interests, and that, you can't have it all your way. And especially when you're doing it in some really unfair way where you have all the collected wealth and you're going to decide to create little gated communities where you have privilege and the rest of them don't. I mean, it's just so fucking unacceptable. The hypocrisy of it. There's just no fair fight anywhere in any of these people. There's no let's earn it kind of attitude, and that's what Trump just so stood for. Here they are glorifying this fucking moron who never did anything ever of merit, not a meritorious second in his life. There's just not one. There's just not some moment that comes close on any level. And it's just, what the fuck? So there's just so much to this conversation. There's just so much that's so broken, and and so, well, the real point is that I see there's only one way out of the Civil War, because the Civil War is coming if they don't fix this Democrat-Republican thing. Because there has to be some rational party, okay, that people can vote for. If your only choice is really stupid on the left and really stupid on the right, like the fringe is running the party. And that's what you can see with the Trumpers, right? I mean, these senators and stuff, these old archaic Republicans, they probably, they got no interest in all this other agenda. Their agenda is just making the rich richer. I mean, that's all they ever wanted to do. And they don't have any interest in all this other horse shit. And so they're just placating it because they know that's the core of the party now, is these lunatics, I mean, and you look at it, I mean, you just can't make it. I can't make any sense of the constituency, right? I mean, you've got an awful lot of guys look like me, look like a bunch of 60-year-old, sort of hippie type, biker types, all this kind of stuff, and you're just, what the fuck? Why are those people hanging out with these religious nerds, and these let's make the rich richer and these corporate whores and all that crap. I mean, they're all in love with that crap. I mean, that's what Trump stands for, is a bunch of corporate shenanigans. I mean, he's the definition of cheat the system wherever the fuck you can. Don't pay your fair share and don't earn any of it. And then, some guy with a, Harley Davidson t-shirt is sitting there supporting this asshole. And you're just like, what the fuck is he thinking? What's going on in his little tiny pea brain that he thought this was a good idea? I mean, it's just too stupid. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And I can't see the appeal on any level. I mean, Trump is so disgusting. How could anybody sit there and say there's just anything of merit in this human being? Anything. I mean, I had real conflict, when Trump even ran. I mean, I cut off relationships with people and things because you people are fucking out of your mind. I'm like, he's a fucking psychotic. Why do you want to make a psychotic president of the United States? How do you think that's going to work out? He's a lunatic. I was saying all these words, and it's just like, he's a Republican, isn't he? I don't know. But yeah, you could just say it. There's only one part of this, right? It's just racism. That's it. That's only gluing the Republicans together now. That's the main theme, racism. And it's just overt and obvious. Because when they behave like monkeys, it's okay. But when those people do, well, it's because they're inferior and they should never have been allowed out of their slave camps, and they should belong in behind bars and all this kind of crap. Just amazing hypocrisy. Amazing. I mean, understand, right? There was absolutely no chance these morons couldn't possibly think they had any chance that, oh yeah, I'm just going to storm the government and I'm going to take over and I'm going to be president. And, Jim's going to be vice president and that guy over there, he's going to be the chief of staff or something. We're going to run the government, okay? Do they really think that was going to happen, or were they just putting on a show? Seems like they were just putting on a show, right? I mean, they're that stupid. They thought it was like some kind of America Live, So some TV show where they just do drama for fun, let's do some fake stuff that's supposed to be real, Let's pretend we're having a revolution and it'll be kind of fun, and only a few people will die. It's okay. Just so. Anyway, back to the only salvation really. There has to be a third party that just says, I'm not either one. I'm not these fascist, loony, racist kooks, but I'm not one of these idiots over here on the left who thinks everything's free and everybody's wonderful. Yeah, fuck that bullshit. So yeah, I don't want to have anything to do with these give everybody everything idiots, and these inheriting it is the same as earning it idiots. There's really got to be some rational choice, and the rational party, I think, would glean the 60%. So you'll have the 20% loonies can be Republicans, and the 20% loonies can be whatever, communists, whatever you want to call them. Unrealistic, daydreaming, wooey little morons. It doesn't really matter. And that's all. You won't bother with anything else. And the 60% can enjoy just killing, just wiping the other two parties out, because it'll be the rational party, the be a grown-up party, use your fucking brain a little bit party. I mean, I was calling it fairness first party, as I thought, well, those are kind of nice words and it has a little dignity, but it's almost gotten so cartoonish that you'd almost have to name the party Not an Asshole Party, because some people might not get it. They get the point, get the purpose, okay, that the real purpose is just, oh, come on, you can't be this fucking stupid. So, I mean, it's, it's just so, I mean, there are so few good ways that this can go. You know, there's so few ways that this has any trajectory and any, you know, I might as well just get rid of it. I mean, but it's $8 trillion, soon to be 10. Okay, I mean, Biden has no plan to generate a whole big pile of money. He still has no hope of doing it, you know, because the Republicans are so, you know, they're just not going to give. They're not going to concede that the rich are rich enough. Okay, they still ain't. They still think the rich are terribly aggrieved, and they need more. So they're not going to do anything responsible, you know, and increase taxes on the rich. Just ain't going to happen. So where's he going to get the money for all this? You know, I'm going to help you people. Well, you can't help them with no money in the budget. So where are you going to get it? You know, you really don't have a chance. It's just think of the money. You know, this is like a 9/11 thing, right? You know, where it got into billions and billions and billions of dollars just paying the you know, for the way overpaying for the corpses. The 3,000 corpses cost us about $30 trillion or something. 3 trillion. I mean, just paying off the families and doing all this whatever blah 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 love stuff. You know, just investigating this frickin' Trump disaster, this one little frickin' disaster of a mess, this spectacle. I mean, just think how much this spectacle is going to cost, you know, in terms of investigating all of the little shenanigans that went on that made it possible. You know, forget about it. Who's paying for it? You know. So, yeah, it's just there's just nothing to be very optimistic about. Because this letting the fringes of the two parties run the show is just not going to work. You know, you know, I don't even know some word for yin yang where you've only taken part of it, right? It's like, you know, that part of it isn't going to work. It's not going to make a circle. It's not going to keep you together. It's not going to go anywhere coherent. This is an irrational swinging of pendulums, you know, from irrational, way too far, break everything the other direction. Just, it's not going to work. No chance. Yeah, so, all right, so the financing is just a mess. And then we have the underlying, you know, where people are just, like I said, I wouldn't trust blonde-haired people. I mean, most of them must be lunatics, right? That's what it looks like. You know, most of them are racist, insane kooks. Because they just keep saying, it's okay, they're not racist, even though the shirt says kill the Jews, you know, whatever the other, you know, brown people be boogery or whatever. It's just, you know, it's so overt that how can I miss it? You know, I can't miss it. You know, it's so overt, and it's just, it's, you know, what's this? You know, I live somewhere where it's, you know, mostly not white. It's not mostly not blonde and mostly not white. And you know, I just can't imagine people not looking at me and just saying, being suspect, wondering, oh, look, he's got that Trump hair, you know, or he's got that, you know, he looks like a Trumper, you know. I mean, do I actually now have to wear it on my sleeve that I hate Trump? You know, that I didn't vote for him, you know, but it's almost like that. And then, but you're saying if you announce that, then you're a target, you know, from the other side. So you don't want to be recognizable as one of these two things, because being either one of them, you know, sort of makes you something negative, you know, just overtly. I mean, I'm not for, you know, this this liberal state of you know, infinite welfare, and let's do the huddled masses thing from the whole world. Let's ask all of the irresponsible losers existing in any other country to come here, you know, for a welfare check. And that's really the system. I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, I know that's not what people think is happening, but that's what's happening. That's the reality. So don't pretend you're asking the rest of the world to send you their brightest and best. No, you're asking them to send you the people living in cardboard boxes who really don't have much to give. I mean, it's just a fact. They don't have a huge. They're not high functioning. They're low functioning, maybe even insane. So and you haven't cleaned up. You never even cleaned up your own mess. In the sense that you've been walking over homeless people for 50 years. So why are you pretending that you can take care of all these other problems when you haven't even given a shit to take care of the ones here? You even closed all the mental hospitals. You just said let them live on the street. That was your great social justice answer for throughout the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. That was your social justice answer. So why are you pretending now you're some warrior for a cause when you're not asking anybody to build more mental institutions? You're not trying to get any of that shit done. You're not fixing it. You're just daydreaming that it's somehow going to evaporate or just go away. No problem. We'll just hope it away. We'll pray to our non-God. The God we don't believe in. We'll pray to him. That'll work. I mean, it's just crap. So you don't want to be associated with that stupid bullshit. But the other side is impossible. I mean, I could never be a Republican, just even the old Republicans who weren't overtly insanely racist. I couldn't be one just because they were insanely placating of the inheritance rich. I mean, it's not even like you had to earn the money. You just had to inherit it, and they're going to call you a great man. You're a great man because you inherited something. I mean, that's their reality. That's the world they live in. You're instantaneously a man of accomplishment, and everybody should just be at wonder at how you managed to win so many gold medals. You're such a brilliant, fantastic human being. You didn't do a damn fucking thing. I mean, that is so base. It's so low as a fucking way to view the world, the way to measure the character of a man or a person. Judge a man by the content of his father's wallet? What the fuck? I mean, nobody could be that dumb, but they are. I mean, they're proud to be that dumb. So, yeah, so I mean, it is kind of funny. I took the Trump-a-plix banner off my page because I said, oh, it's finally over, so I'll take that down. And it was just too early, right? I just, he wasn't finished yet. Ugh, God. Just what's coming, right? I mean, he's still got time to engineer a pardon for all the criminals of all the mass murders and whatnot. I mean, what else is he gonna do? Oh, what last horrible acts of selfish, self-interested shit is he gonna do? Just a horrible human being. I mean, like I said, the Republicans could be honest. They could just say, okay, I get that he's a piece of shit. I get it, okay? But the party that he's part of isn't. We're all not pieces of shit, okay? So yes, we elected the way wrong guy. But it's just because all the other ones were assholes who were running, and he did appeal, okay, to the real morons in our party, and that's the catch, right? So that's still the catch, right? The fringe is running the show on both parties because neither party can afford to offend those fringe fanatics. The fanatics are running the show because they're the ones that leave. So you have to placate them, and you just can't function under that extortion because they just keep compelling both parties to be such assholes. So bad. All right. So I don't know if I need to just keep going on about it because there's so much to it. There's so many holes in this boat. It's just kind of stupid to say, oh well, there's Exhibit A, and there's going to be exhibits, 5 million of all the reasons why it's just not going to be fun. The future's not going to be fun. It's not. No, it's going to be ugly and unpleasant and yuck. Yeah, that's what it's going to be. Yuck. It's because there just isn't any sign that there's somebody who's going to step out of all this bullshit and do the right thing. I mean, Biden, he might have had some hope when he was 50, but I mean, as a 90-year-old man, he just ain't going to be able to deal with this shit. Brain flood, whatever. I did my best. Well, all I did is I have a bunch of routines. He's a routine politician. He just has this idea that, boy, yeah, I can sign a piece of paper. But he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have any kind of, no hope. He just, in a broad theme, he just has, he's playing checkers, and you need a chess player. Okay, checker player just ain't gonna do it. You need somebody who's got a bigger picture kind of understanding of just how broken everything is, and how you have to have a 10-year plan, to try to glue some of this back together. But anyway, but yeah, there's just no, I don't know. Forgive and forget. Just forgive the Trumpers for the horror they have imposed. It's hard to do that. Especially the ones I know, because these are like working class people that should have known better. They should know better. I mean, it's kind of funny. Those people storming the Capitol, they were actually talking about how they were storming the socialist corporations. They're fighting the socialist corporations. I mean, they actually think the corporations are in some socialist compact with the government. I mean, it's that hilariously, like, you can't be this stupid. You really think the Republicans are anti-corporation? That's what you think. Yeah, just whoa. You just think they can't be that stupid, but they are. They really are white trash. Really. White garbage. Ugh. So bad. So anyway, that's all. It's just no place to look here that's safe. It's just where do I hide? Where do you go? No place to go. And I don't know why there's been just absolutely no energy to fix a third party, to take one of them and just say, all right, let's fix it, just the rational party, let's just do things that are sort of rational, not irrational. Let's try to just keep things from being completely lopsidedly, insanely stupid. Let's not be insanely stupid party. I mean, and no, there's no energy. And so you're almost saying, how could the 60% actually be, let's not be insanely stupid? Well, maybe they're not, because they're too stupid to even say, well, let's make a third party that's not insanely stupid. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, I don't understand why, it hasn't happened. It didn't happen. I don't understand. I guess it's just because it's because everything is corrupt. There's just no like uncorruptible thing or institution, and so there's nothing that you can't build it out of anything, because nothing is credible. There's no credible pieces to make any infrastructure out of. Like, there's good people, but there's no good institution. There just isn't, because everything is financed by money that has an agenda. By rich people with agendas. Everybody has an agenda. And you know, the agenda isn't just do the right thing. That's not the agenda. You know. So there's no institution to make anything public. There's no website supported by. You know. So I guess you have to have the party before you have the infrastructure to make the party. You know, before you have the financing and all the stuff you need, you have to already have the infrastructure to make it. There's no infrastructure that can do any of this public interest thing. And you can sort of see that when I was, you know, looking at the news on the line, because it's horrible. I mean, there's no news. Nobody's doing news. Everybody's just reporting on what other people have said. There's no news. There's just reporting on, that guy over there said, that guy said that. You know, but it's almost like there's just no news. It's like there's not even anybody at news conferences anymore. There's nobody even asking questions because they know they're not going to get answered, or they're just going to get kicked out of the room, I guess. I mean, it's just also, you know, it is all very fake and very agenda focused. I mean, it's just whatever the agenda of the particular logo is, you know, you get the news from their perspective, and there's just not much to it. I mean, you know, it's like they show you a picture of a blue dot and they say, it's a blue dot. See, it's blue and it's round. It's a blue dot. You know, I can look at the picture and see that. I don't need you to describe a blue dot. Okay, I want you to tell me why the blue dot's there and how it's relevant, and I want to know the connections and who else did what and how it was financed. But it's not. You know, it's just a bunch of description, and there's, you know, and the description doesn't have anything to do with how the thing actually emerged and exists. It's just a description of the event. The volcano erupted. Nothing about, well, yeah, we had seismic information for 15 years and we had, you know, nothing about any detail, just it erupted. There's red stuff coming out. It's like that detailed. So bad. Yeah. All right. I'm done. You know. Yeah. So, you know, no point. I don't know. You know, politics is just so useless because we can't even. You know, people can't. They can't even agree on these simple things like, yeah, it's a fact of the world that there's different people in it, and theoretically they sort of have to live interconnectedly. And they have to have common rules to, you know, for the planet's sake. You know, for stability's sake, you know, all these kind of reasons. You got to have kind of a common theme and idea about where we're going. You know, what responsible behavior is. You know. Yeah. So, I mean, that's, you know, I guess the only good news is you know, from the negative utilitarian perspective, is that maybe the whole thing will get tremendously downsized. But again, putting human beings back in caves, you know, that's not going to solve the Earth's problem. Needs more than that. Kind of, obviously, desperately. But anyway, yeah, that's enough. Yeah. Yeah, that's enough. Forget it. There's no point, right? I mean, you can't convince anybody of this stuff. I mean, you either see it or you don't see it. I mean, you know, I mean, if I have to explain all of, you know, just how big a preposterous liar Trump is and why the fuck anybody would defend that, you know, merely to get tax cuts or to protect themselves from, you know, whatever, the gatekeepers, you know, are going to let too many darkies in or something. We've got problems that are just so big that they're going to require you to come up with answers that are better than, you know, building a fence or opening a gate. I mean, those are like tiny issues in the real context. I mean, not that you can't, you know, you know, they'd only have to open the gate, you know, for a year or two to, you know, wipe us out. Of course, you know, if you ask every refugee from every country and say, come to our house, yeah, I mean, obviously the house is going to be a shithole pretty quick. So yeah, But it would be kind of exaggerating to think that, you know, the Democratic Party has that as its agenda, you know. Most of them. Yeah, okay. See, I can't defend them. I really can't. I can only defend them as being less stupid than the Trumpers. Anyway, till the next time.